My name is Ken Coons, Technical Service Manager here at Spinnaker Support. You may have seen a recent blog about our SAP offerings for basis managed services. Well, today I want to talk to you about another exciting offering specifically for Sybase managed services. Spinnaker Support has been supporting SAP customers in third-party maintenance and managed services now for a number of years. That support including Sybase, providing managed services for organizations' various Sybase versions. But before we get into the details about our offerings, I'd like to introduce a key member of our team, Marcus Seacat. Marcus is a Spinnaker Support lead engineer, and Marcus has over 30 years experience supporting Sybase ecosystems. So Marcus, would you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Ken. I am Marcos Seacat. I'm a Sybase practitioner for 30 years, and in my 30 years of experience, I have been performing different roles as a Sybase developer, a database modeler and designer, a Sybase database administrator supporting all environments including production support, a database engineer and solutions architect, building or enhancing large enterprise and mission critical systems for the U.S. largest banks, stock exchanges, hedge funds, and many other Wall Street financial firms. I am currently a senior technical solutions architect at Spinnaker Support. My primary role is to expand the company's footprint in the Sybase managed services area.
Thanks, Marcus, for your introduction. I've got a question for you, Marcus. Can you go into detail about what the state of Sybase is today and where it's headed?
These are great questions, Ken. I bet a lot of Sybase practitioners are asking the same questions. As mentioned earlier, I have been working on Sybase products, especially ASE, for 3 decades. So, I'll answer these questions where I see Sybase today. Let me start with the first one. What is the state of Sybase? Well, one thing for sure, Sybase is alive. It is out there and still being used. Sybase ASE is still a mainstay in large financial institutions, insurance companies, healthcare companies, and many more. But there's one thing that I have noticed over the years, Ken, and that is Sybase ASE popularity as the leading OLTP database platform has faded. Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server grabbed the spotlight from Sybase ASE. Today, we see database offerings in the cloud from AWS, Google, Azure, and IBM. There are also databases out there like MongoDB, Greenplum, DB2, Postgres, and many others, and they are taking away market share from Sybase. Sybase for sure is facing very steep competition in the database market. And for the second part of the question, where is Sybase headed? Let me answer this question in 2 parts. The first part, the end of mainstream maintenance for ASE and Rep Server. What I have learned is that this too will end on the year 2030. And for Sybase IQ, it will end on 2027. So far, my understanding for ASE, Rep Server, and IQ for the on-prem will continue beyond their end of mainstream maintenance. The second part, back in April of this year, SAP announced and actually launched Sybase ASE, Rep Server, and IQ on their journey into the SAP HANA Cloud Platform. SAP will push hard and try to catch up with the cloud leaders like AWS, Azure, Google, IBM, and even Alibaba with these new cloud offerings of ASE, Rep Server, and IQ. Thank you for these questions, Ken. I hope I answered your questions.
Thanks, Marcus. That's great insight into the state of Sybase. But I've got another question for you. Can you now get into what are some of the challenges organizations are faced with today with their Sybase environments?
This is another excellent question, Ken. I would say maintenance cost. When a company renews its licensing agreement with SAP for Sybase ASE, Rep Server, or IQ, the maintenance cost is always included. I am not aware of a new licensing model from SAP where the maintenance cost is excluded or can be excluded. The other challenge that I can think of is the technical support. Back in the old days, there was this number, 1-800-8-Sybase. And whenever you call that number to open a P1 or P2 case, you will have a live person on the other side. And if it's a P1 or P2 case, your call can immediately get routed to a technical support engineer. But today, you use a self-service portal. You open the case, a P1 case, and it may take several minutes to get a response. So that's a challenge. The other challenge that I can think of is the end-of-life support or the support for end-of-life versions of Sybase. If you encounter a problem with your older version, let's say it's 15.7, and you open a case with Sybase Tech Support, most likely you will be told to upgrade to the latest version because 15.7 is already end of life. That can be frustrating for a customer. So that's a challenge. The other challenge is the diminishing resource of Sybase experts. There are fewer out there now. Most of the experts left the practice and move on to other database technologies. So companies today are facing these resource constraints. There you have it, Ken. These are the challenges that I can think of.
Thanks, Marcus, for that insight on those challenges. So now let's switch gears and talk about Sybase Managed Services and how those services can help address some of those challenges that Marcus just spoke of. And really, Sybase Managed Services incorporates some key components. First, expertise. You want expertise in all versions and components of your Sybase landscape. Second, flexibility. Depending on your landscape, maybe it's a simple landscape, maybe it's a very complex landscape, you want to be able to have that flexibility to meet those business requirements. And in addition to that, you want it to fit your need. Everyone is unique, and as I will get to shortly, but you want to make sure that it's addressing your need and supplying the support required for your business applications and your user community. And finally, you want complete system administration of your landscape to ensure everything is running properly and performing efficiently. Let's take a minute and talk a little more about what your needs may be. You may be facing financial burdens from the pandemic or for other business reasons. You may not be happy with the support you're getting from the software vendor. You may need to augment your staff for various reasons and need additional help. And finally, maybe you're just looking to reduce the risk in your high-risk environments with a dedicated partner. So let's talk about a valued partner as it relates to managing your Sybase environments and what they can do. And there's some key things. One, it gets you out of reactive mode and more into a proactive approach into your landscapes. It provides additional support to your team, whether it's a team of one or a team of many. Allows your teams to focus on new initiatives or new things going on in the organization that can help drive new business. And finally, it makes for a smoother running application and in more efficient ways. So in managed services, it's all about getting to know you and your Sybase landscape. And there's some key components of managed services that you want to look out for. One, flexible. Flexible in the way it can be priced, flexible in the way that it can be managed in your landscape depending on criteria set forth by you. You want it to be reliable. You want it to be there when you need it. And lastly, you definitely want the experience. You want an organization and a partner who brings experience to the table that's going to be able to take care of your Sybase ecosystem. And there's some advantages to that, obviously. It will help you maintain and advance your business. Always there when you're not. Really, it needs to become an extension of your team and not considered a third party. And finally, when you have that, then the stress level of your team or teams is greatly reduced with your Sybase landscapes. Let me take a minute and talk about Spinnaker Support and how Spinnaker Support can become your Sybase Managed Service partner. Spinnaker Support, founded in 2008, over 550 full-time employees now, have offices, as you can see, throughout the world. Our support engineers average now 19 plus years of experience, and we support over 104 countries. Spinnaker Support has two major core offerings as it relates to Sybase. As I've been discussing managed services for Sybase, ASE, and IQ. But we also provide services in what is known as third-party maintenance for organizations who are looking to discontinue their maintenance contract with the vendor for their Sybase environments. And so the section here on the right talks about those services that we provide in that offering. So let me now take a moment and talk about how Spinnaker Support distinguishes our services from other organizations. And I think the first key point to talk about is really the lifetime support of your Sybase, ASE, and IQ environments, regardless of what version it is. Spinnaker Support does not put a end-of-life date on any application version. I think that's really key to understanding how Spinnaker Support provides our services to our clients. In addition to that, as I mentioned, we're flexible in the way that we set things up. So we can design things that are very customer specific. If there is a reason, we have escalation as required. If you're not receiving the service that you think you should be receiving, we will escalate that to the appropriate levels to ensure that you do get the service that you do expect. We have ITIL-centric services. We have response services 24/7, 365. We're there when you're not, to help support and manage your landscape. And as I mentioned in a previous slide, we have a global team of Sybase experts that can help support and manage your environments. We would love to have the opportunity to talk to you about how Spinnaker Support can be your valued partner in managing your Sybase ecosystem. Please feel free to reach out to our website as shown here on this slide, or contact us, and we'd be happy to talk to you about how we can be a fit in your environment. Thank you.